Imagine waking up in a European capital, cobblestone streets, historic charm, centuries of culture. But behind the postcard-perfect scenes, something's deeply wrong. Cracks are forming. Economies are tanking. Political systems are cracking under pressure. It's not just isolated issues, it's entire countries heading for collapse. And no, I'm not being dramatic. Today, we're diving into the 10 fastest collapsing European countries in 2025. Some are collapsing financially, others politically, some socially. By the end of this list, you'll see just how fragile the foundations of modern Europe really are. At number 10, we've got the United Kingdom. You might be thinking, seriously? The UK? But yeah, it's not the power it once was. Since Brexit, things have been sliding downhill, fast. The UK's GDP growth has been anemic, with the IMF projecting just 0.5% growth this year. Inflation is hovering stubbornly above 4%, and the country is dealing with the worst cost of living crisis in decades. Public services like the NHS are buckling under pressure. There's a shortage of doctors and nurses, long waiting times, and chronic underfunding. Add to that 5 prime ministers in 8 years. Yeah, 5. And you've got a political circus that's lost public trust. Debt has soared past 100% of GDP, and productivity hasn't moved in over a decade. London might still feel rich, but beyond the capital, many regions are struggling with poverty, job loss, and crumbling infrastructure. The UK isn't collapsing overnight, but the decline is real, and it's picking up speed. Coming in at number 9 is Belgium. Quiet on the outside, but inside, it's a pressure cooker. Belgium is essentially 2 countries in one, the Dutch-speaking Flemish in the north and the French-speaking Walloons in the south. These regions rarely agree, making politics borderline dysfunctional. In 2010, Belgium went 541 days without a government, a world record. And guess what? It happened again in 2020, when they went over 600 days in caretaker mode. Economically, Belgium's public debt is over 106% of GDP, and like much of Europe, the population is aging fast. Pension costs are ballooning. Meanwhile, Brussels, often seen as the heart of the EU, is dealing with rising inequality, growing populism, and youth unemployment rates that exceed 20% in some areas. It's not flashy, but Belgium's slow unraveling is dangerous, especially given its symbolic weight in the European project. At number 8 is Portugal. Gorgeous beaches, great food, but economically? Portugal is hurting. Public debt sits around 112% of GDP, and despite efforts to diversify, the country still leans heavily on tourism. That's great in good years, but as COVID showed, it's a huge vulnerability. The youth are leaving in droves. Portugal has one of the highest emigration rates in Europe. Almost a quarter of Portuguese under 30 are working abroad. That's a brain drain that weakens future growth. The birth rate is also among the lowest in Europe, with just 1.43 births per woman. And while Lisbon's booming with foreign investors and digital nomads, locals are being priced out of their own neighborhoods. It's a tale of 2 Portugals, one glossy for outsiders, one crumbling for the people who live there. And without serious reform, that divide will only get worse. At number 7, welcome France. The collapse here isn't economic, it's social and political. France has a public debt of 112% of GDP, and while its economy is still one of Europe's largest, the real issue is the internal divide. Protests have become almost routine, over pension reforms, police violence, inflation, immigration, and more. The Yellow Vest movement exposed deep resentment among the working and middle classes. More recently, massive strikes have paralyzed cities. Youth unemployment hovers around 17%, and political polarization is growing. Marine Le Pen's far-right party is no longer fringe, it's a real contender. Add in tensions around secularism, integration, and identity, and you've got a country on edge. France isn't going to fall apart tomorrow, but the stress fractures are everywhere, and they're getting deeper. Number 6 is Moldova. Small, poor, and stuck between East and West, Moldova is one of Europe's most fragile nations. It has the lowest GDP per capita in Europe outside of Ukraine. Over 30% of its GDP comes from remittances, Basically, money sent home by Moldovans working abroad. That's not a sustainable economic model. Politically, Moldova is torn between aligning with the EU and falling back under Russia's shadow. The breakaway region of Transnistria, which is backed by Russian troops, sits like a loaded gun inside its borders. Corruption remains rampant. The population is shrinking fast. By 2030, the country could lose another 15% of its people. Moldova is trying to reform, but it's running out of time and people. If regional instability spreads, it could fall into total chaos. Coming in at number 5, Greece. Yes, again. A decade after its debt crisis nearly brought down the Eurozone, Greece is still on life support. Debt to GDP ratio? An insane 168%. Youth unemployment? Still around 28%. Public services? Struggling. The Greek economy relies heavily on tourism, which makes up over 20% of GDP. That's a risky bet in a world of climate disasters and global pandemics. The country's pension system is one of the most expensive in Europe, and the population is aging rapidly. Greece has made some recovery strides, but the margin for error is razor thin. One bad year, one market crash, one natural disaster, and all the progress could evaporate. Number 4 is Hungary. This collapse isn't just economic, it's democratic. Under Prime Minister Viktor Orbán, Hungary has systematically dismantled checks and balances. The judiciary is politicized, the press is muzzled, and universities have been taken over by pro-government interests. The EU has withheld billions in funding over rule-of-law concerns, and inflation is brutal, peaking at 25% in early 2023 before slowing slightly. Hungary is also facing a workforce crisis. Young people are leaving, and those who stay earn some of the lowest wages in the EU. Orbán has cozy ties with Russia and China, which puts Hungary on a dangerous geopolitical path. If the EU finally cuts off the money completely, Hungary's economy could implode. Number 3, Belarus. There's no sugarcoating this one. Belarus is a dictatorship barely holding itself together. Alexander Lukashenko has ruled with an iron fist since 1994, and after backing Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the country became a full-on pariah. Western sanctions have crippled trade. Inflation is high, industry is outdated, and young Belarusians are fleeing in record numbers. The country survives on handouts from Moscow, but if Russia collapses, Belarus goes with it. There's no innovation, no freedom, no plan for the future. It's like a time capsule from the Soviet era, rusting in real time. Number 2 is Ukraine. It's obvious but tragic. Russia's invasion in 2022 turned Ukraine into a battlefield, and the scars will last for decades. The World Bank estimates reconstruction will cost at least $411 billion. Millions have fled, infrastructure has been obliterated, and cities like Mariupol and Bakhmut are now rubble. The war has devastated the economy. GDP shrank by 30% in 2022 and has only partially recovered. Ukraine's birth rate has collapsed, and so has industrial production. Even if the war ends tomorrow, the human and economic cost is beyond staggering. Ukraine is fighting for survival in every sense of the word. And at number 1, Russia. This is the big one. Putin's war in Ukraine has triggered an avalanche of consequences that may lead to the end of Russia as we know it. Western sanctions have gutted key industries, especially tech and energy. Over 1 million young professionals have fled the country, brain drain on an epic scale. Oil and gas revenues are down, military spending is through the roof, and inflation is squeezing ordinary Russians. The ruble has tanked, and foreign investment has evaporated. Add in a shrinking population, Russia is projected to lose 10% of its people by 2050, and you've got a demographic time bomb. Internally, regions like Chechnya, Dagestan, and Tatarstan are watching Moscow's weakness closely. If the center collapses, the federation might not hold. Russia's collapse isn't just possible, it's already in motion. So there you have it, the 10 fastest collapsing European countries. Some are falling apart because of war. Others are dying slowly from debt, division, or dysfunction. But they all share one thing in common. The systems that once held them together are starting to break. And if they do collapse, the shockwaves won't stop at their borders. This is Europe in 2025. Not just a continent of culture, but one on the edge. Let me know in the comments which country surprised you the most. Do you think any of them can turn things around? And if you want more deep dives like this, make sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.